Every driver's had that moment. You finish a ride, the app flashes a number, and for a second, you actually believe that's what you just made. It's not. Gridwise's own data says that most Uber drivers are losing 30 to 50% of that number before it even hits their bank account. And almost nobody's actually sat down and calculated the real hourly rate. This is the question that every driver asks before they start. And it's the one that most of us still can't answer accurately once we're actually out there driving. We're going to walk through 4 things. What the real gross number is according to the newest Gridwise data, what comes out of that number before you ever see it, what actually shifts that number up and down, and a simple way to calculate your own true hourly rate. The app shows you your gross, but that is not your income. And for me, no. That number the app flashed after the ride was never the number that actually showed up on my account at the end of the month. There's always a gap, and until you actually sit down and calculate it, you don't know how big that gap really is. According to Gridwise's 2026 annual gig mobility report, Uber drivers nationwide averaged $23.88 an hour gross per active work hour in 2025. The average driver logged 21.2 active hours a week, and they grossed about $522. And here's the catch. Active work hour means the time actually spent on a trip, not the whole time that the app was on. And idle time is just sitting there waiting between rides, and that made up 30% of total distance driven last year. The app doesn't show you that gap. Drivers only averaged 1.67 trips per hour in 2025, and every minute between those trips is unpaid time that quietly drags your real hourly rate down, even though the app never subtracts it for you. And for me, the active hours concept hits different at my volume. I'm running 40 plus active hours most weeks, and that number moves depending on the season. Off season, I dial it back to the hours that actually make sense. In season, when it's busier, I add hours because the demand is there to support it. Compare that to the national average at about 21.2 active hours, and I'm basically doing 2 times that, which means the gap between what the app flashes and what I actually keep matters 2 times as much to me. And that's exactly why I stopped trusting the app's number a long time ago. And 2 things that eat into that gross number every shift. The day-to-day cost is gas, and here's the part that drivers miss. You're paying for every mile that you drive, not just the miles that you're getting paid for. Idle time between the rides made up 30% of total distance driven last year. That's real gas money spent chasing the next ride, even though the app never counts it against you. Then there's insurance, and that's the cost that hits you every month whether you drive 5 hours that week or 50, and it's money coming out before you even see a dime of profit. And then there's wear and tear, tires, brakes, and oil. And that's real too, but it builds up slowly over thousands of miles. Set a little aside for each month and you don't need to calculate it shift by shift. Add that up and gas on every mile including the idle ones plus insurance, and Gridwise's data shows that the net income consistently lands at 30 to 50% below gross for standard UberX drivers. That's the real number, and most drivers never actually sit down and calculate it. And here's 4 things that move your real hourly rate, and they're not equal. The first one is your market. Urban and high demand markets hold up better. Suburban and lower density areas widen that gross to net gap because the idle miles eat a bigger chunk of every shift. You're driving farther between fares, and that's unpaid distance. And shift timing. Platform fees rose 33.2% in 2025, while driver pay per hour rose only 4.1%. Just adding more hours to your week doesn't automatically fix the math. Being in the right place at the right time matters more than the hours logged. Then you have ride type. Premium tiers like Comfort, XL, and Black tip at 9 to 10% of the fare versus 6 to 8% for a standard UberX ride. Trips of 12 plus miles make up only 20% of volume but 40% of total pay. XL price per mile rose 44% year over year. Longer premium rides carry weight in what you actually earn, and that's exactly the category airport runs fall into. Then you have tips and bonuses. Tips hit an all-time high of $1.58 a trip in 2025, and bonus pay jumped 33%. On paper, those look like the bright spot in the earnings picture right now. But look at the full breakdown of the base fare makes up only 78.3% of what you earn per trip. Tips are at 10.1% and bonuses are only 7.2%. Bonuses get all the attention, but they're the smallest slice of that pie. But here's where I push back a little on one of those four. Market, timing, and ride type are all real levers for me. A good market generally changes what a shift is worth. Working the right days and times matters. An airport run specifically are one of the best ride types I get because they're longer, more predictable, and they pay better per mile than short city hops. That lines up with the data. But bonuses? I treat those as a distraction, not as a strategy. Chasing a bonus threshold has talked me and a lot of drivers I know into accepting trips that don't actually pencil out. Short fares, bad pickup distances, and rides that eat time and mileage for very little benefit once you add your cost per mile. And that 7.2% bonus number backs it up. It's a small slice of your pay, but it drives a large amount of bad decision making. A bonus dangles a number, but it doesn't change whether the underlying trip was profitable. Market, timing, and ride type are levers you can actually plan around. Bonuses are a trap that looks like a lever. And here's a simple 4-step way to find your real number. Step 1. Add up your gross for the shift. That's a number that the app already gives you. Step 2. Subtract your gas for the whole shift. Remember, that's every mile you drive, including the aisle miles, not just the paid ones. Step 3. Subtract your daily share of your fixed costs, like your insurance, registration, and car payment if you have one. Wear and tear gets set aside separately as a small monthly reserve. Leave it out of this shift-by-shift math. And then step 4. Take what's left and divide it by the total hours you're actually out there, start to finish. Not just the hours that you're on a trip. That number is your real hourly rate. And this only works if your mileage data is accurate. Uber's own mileage tracking misses pickup miles, repositioning miles between trips, and the miles you drive home at the end of the shift. And all that is real gas money that affects your true number. I run this calculation on my own shifts, and once I started counting every mile, not just paid miles, the picture got a lot clearer. The gap gets wider the slower the shift is, and the more idle miles I rack up between fares. It's consistently landed in that 30 to 50% range once gas and my fixed costs got factored in. And here's the bottom line. Uber drivers gross $23.88 an hour on average per active work hour. That's real money for the right person in the right market. But 30% of your time is unpaid idle time, gas, and insurance, and that adds up fast. And the gap between gross and net consistently lands between 30 and 50%. The number that actually matters isn't what the app reports, it's what you keep per hour after everything comes out. And most drivers never actually sat down and calculated that. And that's the exact number I stopped guessing at once I started tracking my own numbers through Gridwise. It tracks your effective hourly automatically. Gross earnings minus your expenses you log, broken out by platform and by shift. So you're not doing this math by hand every week. And if you want to actually know your real numbers instead of trusting what the app shows you, go download the Gridwise app now. Link is in the description. And I want to hear from you. Do you actually track your own numbers, or are you still going off whatever the app flashes at you? Drop your real hourly rate in the comments and tell me what surprised you most about today's breakdown. And if this helped you look at your own earnings differently, hit like and subscribe for more of these. And thanks for watching the Gridwise channel.